Please be advised that the views and opinions of the host and guests do not reflect those of the station, the management, and its network.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat, wherever you are in this world, dito sa Pilipinas o sa iba't ibang mga dako ng mundo, sa kanluran, sa Middle East, at dito sa kabuuan ng Asia. At itong nakaraang mga araw, itong nakaraang linggo po, ay nagsiputukan na naman ang issue tungkol sa Philippine-China relations over the South China Sea issue, in particular yung Ayungin po at yung water cannon incident. Kahapon nga si Maestra Ana ay kasama sa isang webinar na pinag-usapan po ito, sponsored by IDSI, Integrated Development Studies Institute, at naimbita si Maestra Ana bilang isang researcher and writer ng ating grupong Philippine BRICS Strategic Studies. And so, ito pong lathala po nila, at ako yung dumalo din, And so, bigyan mo kami ng 1-minute brief on this. Ano bang conclusion dito?
So far po, it was attended by many experts.
Around 200
and there are a lot of people, more than nearly 300 attendees, and
yes.
Most of them are master's degree students and college students. So far, we discuss about the recent incident dun sa Ayungin Shoal nga. At clarify natin yung mga issues. Like for example, if it's within our, is it, yung Ayungin Shoal ba is, or yung second Thomas Shoal ba is talagang may sovereignty tayo doon or sovereign rights lang? Naklaro po yun. Kasi yung totoo naman, may sovereign rights tayo. Well, other experts also agreed during that time. And then, ano ba yung problema doon?
Well, sovereign rights according to UNCLOS.
UNCLOS, of course,
but remember,
yes.
China does not, according to not just UNCLOS, but to the arbitration panel.
But no. The arbitral tribunal did not rule on that. Kasi nga, itong second Thomas Shoal nga, in international language, is a military matter. So that's why the arbitral, wala siyang ginalaw dyan, hindi siya nag-comment. Pero, ang sinasabi ng UNCLOS, dahil 200 nautical miles siya from the coastline, sabi niya, ano nga daw yun? Sinasabi niya na part
within
of the
EEZ.
Na so may sovereign rights tayo. But even then, yun yung complication. Kasi
there
hindi
are
nga
also other claims based on customary international law, which is what is used by China
and historical accounts.
And, and Vietnam, na historical basis.
Yun nga. So sinasabi nga ng mga experts, at saka ako rin, ayun ang position ko, na masyadong complicated yung tinatawag mong issue ng WPS or ng South China Sea. Precisely because if you look at the situation, ang dispute, it's not just between ASEAN states. It's also between ASEAN claimant states and China. And even among ASEAN states, may overlapping din. So it's a very complicated.
In other words, any country can claim. It's a sovereign right to claim. But if there are other claims, then that is subject to discussion, negotiation,
yun nga sinasabi. Kasi ang way lang talaga, if you want to resolve the issue, is for the claimant state to discuss, negotiate, para, kaya nga ang sinasabi ko dun sa aking opening statement, dun sa sa media forum na yon or webinar, is for the COC, the soonest possible, to be concluded. Na, kasi even though the COC will not really resolve the territorial sovereignty dispute among the claimant
COC,
states,
Code of
Conduct for the South China Sea,
the ASEAN members,
plus China, at least it will provide rules on how this claimant state will conduct themselves in the South China Sea.
The next item I prepared is the latest among the many reports on this issue. The Inquirer, for example, reports that Lorenzana says Chinese still intimidating, harassing, but the photo they showed is of our delivery boats finally reaching the Sierra Madre, the grounded Sierra Madre. And the claim about the harassment is taking pictures and videos and so on. Is that harassment? That's a question.
You're resupplying the ship.
Or is it, as I said here, photo and video taking is, quotes, harassment or, quote, proper recording of facts? Because it's very difficult to get from media the facts
The facts
about
of-
these issues on the West Philippine Sea. At least
I
our
was asked by
mainstream
media, no, why is it daw? Because in the media forum, I asked, why is it that there's no investigation as to establishing facts on the ground?
Yeah.
And media was asking me, do you want to investigate our troops? No, I said,
Yeah.
part of open communication
Yeah.
between the two
I heard
countries
that.
to establish
I heard that.
facts.
I heard that.
That's why
but that was Chino Gaston
Yes, yes.
who asked that
From
question. As if
GMA.
it's so wrong to investigate our own people.
that's from Jay.
And it has, when you ask for a probe, you're asking for both sides to probe.
Yes, that's my point.
That
Yeah,
is
that
the
was my
bias
point.
of media. As if kontrabida ka agad. Let us not forget the many sins our Coast Guard has committed. For example, 2013, our Coast Guard killed a Taiwanese fisherman on the pretext that the Taiwanese fishing boat was ramming them. It was proven by video that they were chasing it and just firing machine guns. That's why 8 of our Coast Guard men were convicted. We cannot assume that we're always that clean and we're the only ones who
Or
have
we're
a claim.
always on the right side
Yeah.
of things.
Let's go to Kaado. Kaado, your comments here.
Well, that is in fact racist on our part to be thinking that way. The issue here is Ayungin Shoal ours?
yeah.
Well, if you look at it from the viewpoint of the presidential decree in 1978 that President Marcos signed, it is one of the 11 features that was included there. If you look at it from the customary international law, it is China. Now, even this argument about UNCLOS and our being an EEC does not apply if it is China's, because exclusive economic zones do not overlap sovereign territory. So, magulo talaga yan.
Yeah, and that is why
Depende kung saan ka lang gagaling.
that is
Yes.
why we have a lot of grounds to cover, so I will try to wrap this up. That is why in sometime late 80s, when President Aquino at that time visited Deng Xiaoping said, let us postpone this
Yes.
for future generations. Let us stop whatever we can together.
Well, let's agree on certain things that we already have cooperation and strengthen
That's
that
right.
rather than focus on
And
something
if I
that we
may
have
add,
differences.
And that's why controversial itong pag sinasite natin itong PCA which to me
It's not
is really
PCA
a peke.
actually.
you know.
It's not PCA.
Kasi why? Because during the proceedings of the PCA hearings, Philip Sands, one of our American lawyers, collectively that we paid for $7 million, 350 million pesos, to argue for an American arguing for Filipinos, our rights in the South China Seas. Itong sinabi ni Philip Sands, China took de facto control of that feature in May 2013. Chinese marine surveillance vehicles, Navy warships, and fishing administration vessels have surrounded the shoal. They have blocked the Philippine vessels, including civilian vessels, from approaching Second Thomas Shoal, because the very basic in customary international law is occupation of the given area, administration and control, and defense if necessary. Now, this is why we should understand President Duterte when he says that China is in possession of the islands. Whoever is in possession of the islands has the sovereignty.
And I may add, if I may add, China has not touched the islands that Marcos took possession of.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have not touched it, unlike Vietnam, which grabbed Phuket Island in 1975. Okay, we have to move on. The next item I prepared is the article of Maestra Ana Malindog-Uy in ASEAN Post. Recent South China Sea incident, more than meets the eye, question mark. And of course, Bobby Tiglao's article I also prepared here, The Harsh Reality, We Have Lost Ayungin Shoal, which is what you're saying, and quoting direct source.
Which is real politics.
Okay. And of course, your latest article, second to the latest article, America raring to fight
yes.
China up to the last Filipino on this issue, relative to this issue. But just to move forward, the military caps Ayungin supply task. So finally, it was able to reach the Sierra Madre. And the House block calls for probe, which I I featured this because that's precisely what we were
precisely.
proposing.
That's what I was asking. I asked it in my article.
That's right.
What's the reason why in the very first place?
So why is that reaction of Chino Gaston that way? As if you're
I think
pro-China and siding with China?
No, I think I'm against the troops because I was asking why there's no investigation. They don't understand the fact that an open-minded communication, the two sides has to explain what happened from both sides. No, that's the only way you can establish that. How would you explain things if you don't explain you establish the facts? And one thing that's very it's always in my mind right now is why is it that the resupply ship was resupplying Sierra Madre during night time, and also it was covered by tarpaulins.
Wrapped by
That is a
tarpaulin.
question that is there, and actually the Chinese side is asking why is it?
That is why my next article to present is my own article
Okay.
in Sovereign PH entitled "Supply Boats Baiting Water Cannons Won't Stop China-Backed ASEAN Post-Pandemic Recovery." Because simultaneous to all these controversies being stirred up here in the Ayungin Shoal, China-ASEAN 30th anniversary celebration was ongoing, November 21, 22, and that's where President Xi Jinping presented a lot of programs for the betterment of the ASEAN region. For example, this is the report that I chose to highlight here. China-ASEAN ties upgrade to have global significance. South China Sea issue will be handled peacefully, and according, of course, to the experts cited by Global Times. Now, what is global significance? Well, China's cooperation with ASEAN will make ASEAN and China the most progressive post-pandemic economic region. And, of course, the political clout that goes along with that. These are some of the promises of China to ASEAN, including, of course, the Philippines. China is ready to work with ASEAN countries to jointly build a, quote, health shield for the region. Under this initiative, China is ready to donate an additional 150 million doses of COVID vaccines to ASEAN countries to support higher vaccination. I will not read the other details. This is the next one. China is ready to provide ASEAN with another $1.5 billion of development assistance in the next 3 years, $500 million a year. I'll not read the rest of the text there, and I will move on to the next one. China will launch the China-ASEAN Science, Technology, and Innovation Enhancing Program and will provide 1,000 items of advanced and applicable technology to ASEAN and support a program for 300 young scientists from ASEAN to come to China. Now, there are other images that I prepared, but I don't think we were able to email to our technicians here early enough. But I think that sums it up. So we have sufficient time to now analyze. Let's go to Kaado. What do you want to add here?
Well, I guess it has come to a point wherein out of the lessons learned in this Ayungin Shoal, especially the fact that all reactions and responses seems to be based on bad politics, bad definitions, bad positioning,
bad news information.
Bad information. In fact, in addition to what Anna said, I would like to add, why is it that it's understandable that in a few hours, Teddy Boy Locsin will be giving a statement, but why is it that in a few hours, Ned Price, the spokesperson of State Department, would be giving a similar statement? So all of these are really just based on politics, legalisms. I would like to shift our attention, based on lessons learned, to good governance. For instance, why do I say good governance? Well, unang-una po, mga kabansa, this provides an opening for a diplomatic breakthrough. That since there is such disturbance again, that isn't it time that we start bilateral negotiations? To what effect? So that China could see the Kalayaan Island Group as really ours and recognize it as such on a bilateral table, while we at the same time perhaps can throw away this permanent court of arbitration, which has not returned to us Scarborough Shoal, which has not returned to us Ayungin Shoal, and which has confused the definition of the Kalayaan Island graphs and reduced it to mere rocks, which under UNCLOS is not subject to sovereignty or exclusive economic zones or territorial delimitation. Lalo pang lumabo. Pinalabo niya yung posisyon ng...
No, nilusaw niya ang ating, ang ating claim.
Ang ating claim.
Yes.
So, bakit pa natin ito pinagtatanggol? Kathalang naman ito ng madilim na isip ni Noynoy Aquino at saka ni Albert de Rosario.
Ng mga amboys.
May mga commercial and industrial and mining and oil exploration agenda behind them.
And let me add, para paalala lang din sa ating publiko, na on the same day of the PCA resolution being announced, Permanent Court of Arbitration,
it's not a PCA.
Tinanong ang United Nations spokesman, si Stefan Dujarric, what the UN has in relation to the PCA ruling. And it is very clear, it's there on record, I can cite it, and we did cite it in the many years that have transpired, that Stefan Dujarric officially said the United Nations has nothing to do with the PCA. So up to this day, you still read UN-backed PCA resolution. Completely false, but repeated by Inquirer, Rappler, Philippine Star, and all the reporters.
Media.
And American media, Western media in general. They just keep repeating the lie that this is UN-backed.
And also, we have to stop calling it a PCA ruling because the PCA only acted as a registry.
It does not rule.
It does not. I mean, the arbitral tribunal, the arbitration was based on UNCLOS Chapter 7 of UNCLOS. Yun. Hindi siya PCA. Kaya tigilan natin yun.
Hindi siya korte.
Hindi siya, and even PCA is not really
siya
a court.
Permanent.
Yes. So,
it's a private arbitral body.
Tigilan natin yun kasi it muddles the issue and it's being used as a disinformation.
Pero mahirapan tayo dyan.
Bakit?
Dahil ang talagang buod ng Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling is ruling that the 9-dash line of China, yan ang totoong agenda. Para sa mga Amerikano. Ang mga Amerikano lamang ang nakinabang dito.
Oo.
Tayo ang puro gulo na mana natin dito.
1 billion ata ang kaubuan ng binayad natin sa arbitration
Pesos,
ang gastos ng Philippine government for that. And at the end of the day, it actually weakened our claims in the South China Sea.
And of course,
come on, diba?
Of course, this year, we saw the spectacle of Hilbay lambasting Carpio, and Hardelesa disputing Batong Bakal. The team itself that brought this case to the Hague are now quarreling.
But I have one thing to raise, in terms of this issue, especially the recent Ayungin Shoal, incident. What I'm also curious about is why this happened when there was an ongoing negotiation in the United States with regards to the request and to the demand, I think, or request of the United States to have more military bases in the country. Sa EDCA bases natin, they're asking more facilities and to construct, and not just 5, but outside of it also, and also prepositioning defense materials in the country. When in fact we are not at wartime, we're in peacetime. And who is our enemy for these things? I don't understand.
Diyan napakagaling ng Amerika. Imbis na yung Mutual Defense Treaty, imbis na yung BFA at yung EDCA pag-usapan, nandun tayo, water gun tayo sa mga in-check.
It's like a smoke screen. Something is happening here. Kasi November 15 and 16 that happened in the US. Yeah. And Ayungin Shoal happened on November 16. It's like something is happening here and this is the smoke screen going on so that the media will not be able to cover this one and this one will be projected in all media, including international media. I mean, like, come on. I mean, and there was a signing of statement. The good thing, it's only a statement at the moment. But I don't know how it will go in the matter of time. But that is not, not something that we have to be, complacent about.
Pero mahalata mo ba, anak, kung gaano kabilis na resolve ito?
Yeah.
between Esperon and
Yes.
the Chinese ambassador? Why Esperon? Kasi alam ni Esperon na meron tayong joint monitoring panel 24/7 over issues of the South China Seas. Yan ay tinatag noong 2017 pa. But it's between intelligence elements. Kaya there is lack of coordination here between the armed forces,
Anumang
the SND, and the Security Council.
Okay. Ano mang klaseng koordinasyon? Kung merong maitim na balak nga, yung aking tinatawag na information war operation, hindi ito naiba nung Abril. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but Tiara Zambrano ng ABS-CBN, gumawa ng video, umarkila ng fishing boat, pumunta daw sa Ayungin para mag-video.
Hinabol daw siya.
Hinabol daw ng Coast Guard. May Coast Guard vessel pa na naka-camouflage, at may drama pa siya na hinahabol siya. Yung pala ito, pinondo ng International Democracy something through the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. We got that from Pinoy Expose ni NPC President Paul Gutierrez. So we got these facts. And then 2 days after the Zambrano report na dinama na ng Inquirer, Rappler, and so on, dinama na nila, naglabas si Lorenzana kasi tinanong ni Digong ata sa kanila, ano bang totoo dito? And Lorenzana says, this is fake. Kasi hindi ma-outrun ng bangka ni Zambrano ang Coast Guard kung talagang hinahabol. At yung video ni Zambrano, kita mo, ang layo-layo ng Coast Guard boat, pero nagdadrama siya, hinahabol sila. And so
1,700 yards.
So, we have to be very alert and aware of these information warfare operations ng Amerikano.
But there is a difference though. That one was investigated by the defense sector, and Lorenzana was on top of the investigation. And they investigated what's really the facts on the ground. That's why it was clarified. But this one, they are refusing to do some kind of establishing facts on the ground. Why is that? That's even my question. Why is that?
Tapos makakakita ka, wherein sa isang meeting, nandun si Lorenzana, nandun si Luxin, nandun si Albert de Rosario.
Sa Strat-based.
Strat-based
Strat-based.
November,
so 22 to 24, 25, something like that.
Pakulo na naman ito ng Strat-based Albert de Rosario Institute, financed by the Center for Strategic and International Studies ng Washington, D.C. Okay. They have to liquidate, use the funds, kasi baka sila maliquidate.
So, I'll go back to what I wrote about supply boats, which the title which is formulated by Kaado, revising my own title kasi mas compressed ito. Supply boats baiting water cannons will not stop the China-backed ASEAN post-pandemic recovery. All this disinformation na panggulo sa atin na nakikita natin sa malalaking media, ito po ay operation to distract us from the progressive projects towards prosperity and peace dito sa buong rehiyon natin. Dahil pahina na ng pahina ang Estados Unidos at lumuluwag na ang kanilang hawak po sa rehiyon natin. Well, we have 30 seconds.
And I think, when it comes to the differences we have with China, I think we should, again, at the end of the day, we need to resolve it in a diplomatic way. Because diplomacy is an act of sovereignty. On the other hand, we have to strengthen our bilateral cooperation with them on areas that we have cooperation. Because the two are complementary.
Okay, last word, Kaado.
Well, let's focus on the, sabi nga ng isang leading na candidate, let's focus on the post-pandemic economic recovery kasi dyan po nakasusi lahat ang kinabukasan ng salinlahi.
Okay, it's time for us to take our break, and next we will have a startling guest running for the presidency.